A debutant is primed and ready to go, and the prodigal son returns. Let's roll the intro. You'll have to cast your mind back to the very start of 2018, round 1, for the last time we played the Hawthorn Footy Club. This is the game where the coaches thought it would be nice for Mitchell to not have a tag, and he went on to amass a record-breaking 54 disposals and absolutely tear us a new one. That game kicked off Collingwood's 2018 campaign with a loss, and we didn't really show any sort of fight in that game. Cox got reported and we just couldn't get anywhere near the ball. That was all due to the fact that Hawthorn were in the driver's seat from pretty much the second quarter and didn't take their foot off the gas. Crocker was our only multiple goal kicker. He kicked 2 and no one else really impressed that game. A gallant Hawthorn went down by a goal in the dying minutes against West Coast at the MCG last week. The Hawks came back from a 20-point deficit at half-time to be leading by a goal within the last couple minutes before ultimately going on to lose the game, with Luke Shuey kicking the sealer in the last minute. O'Meara played an outstanding game, gathered 37 disposals, 12 clearances and 10 tackles, but ultimately it was Hawthorn's inaccuracy that cost them, kicking 9 goals, 17 for the game. The club and all of us supporters don't want to think about last week's game too much, so I won't dwell on it, but Collingwood were put to the sword and utterly embarrassed by a North Melbourne outfit last weekend. We lost by 44 points. You can go back to my previous video for my dissection of the game. There wasn't any highlights at all. The only ones that really stood out was Shaz coming back from injury and Trelaw going at 80% disposal efficiency from 40 touches, which was so good to see. So Collingwood have rung the changes this week. Isaac Quaynor comes in for his debut in black and white, and it's going to be amazing to see him play. He's going to play off the half back line. Lots of run, lots of speed. He's doing really well in the VFL, and he's got very good footy IQ, so he's going to bring another dimension to the team.
What I can declare though is Isaac going to play his first game.
Jamie Elliott comes back after over half a dozen weeks out, and with Steve-O going down with suspension, he's going to be that cog in that forward line that we've been missing for the last few weeks. Also, James Aish finds his way back into the team after that hamstring niggle, and he'll find his place back in the back line. So the outs this week: Ben Reid did his calf, won't be here for the next few weeks at least. Levi Greenwood with his back, didn't seem like he picked up the injury during the game, or not that they mentioned it anyway. Might have picked it up on the track, but he didn't train today according to reports, so he's not playing tomorrow night. And Travis Farco's been omitted from the team. I know a couple weeks ago I said that, they might look at resting him a bit because of his old age and you don't want him to do a hamstring and stuff, but it looked like he was in not really good form, but good form enough. He brought a lot of forward pressure to the team. He doesn't gather a lot of disposals, but what he does bring, that speed, that forward pressure, we may lack a little bit, but this is the time where Josh Thomas has to step up. Will Hoskin-Elliott has to step up. Hawthorn bring in Mitchell Lewis, who can play as a big-bodied midfielder, but mainly up forward. And they also bring in Ben Stratton after his 2-week suspension. Going out is Jonathan Segler and Dylan Moore. So I'm pretty sure the message from the coaches this week is that we have to play this game on our terms. I don't think it's a question of whether or not the guys are going to come out harder than they did last week. I think they will. They're going to want to prove that last week was just a blip on the radar, and that's not how our season is going to be defined. They're going to want to prove themselves to us, to the club, and more importantly to each other. One key area that's going to define tomorrow night's game is our forward line. Elliott comes back in, and he's going to slot well between Cox, Myercheck, Degoe, Hoskin-Elliott, Callum Brown when he's up there as well, and Josh Thomas. We saw at the start of the year that this sort of lineup was working really well. Yes, we had Steve-O back then. We don't have him now, but like I said previously, Elliott is going to fill that Steve-O role and give us exactly what we need. Within that forward line, I think Sicily is going to be the man on Degoe, and we know Sicily is a bit hot-tempered, really good player as well. I think that Degoe is going to have his skills tested out, and we just got to try and not go to him as much as we normally do. We've got Cox up there as well, Checkers. I'm not going to keep listing the players, but we know Degoe is a good one-on-one player. Obviously, if he's the best option, you go to him. But if there's a better option, you got to pick him out. I noticed last week there was one passage of play where there was someone on shorter, but he opted to go to Degoe, and it was a 50-50 ball which we didn't win, and nothing came out of it. So we just got to be a little bit smarter with our decision making going into the forward line. Our midfield numbers have been really down recently. Clearances, hit us to advantage are working. We get the ball, but we just don't do anything with it or anything special with it. Hawthorn have a really good midfield. Scully, Burgoyne when he's down there and not playing in the back line, O'Meara, Ricky Henderson, and even Warple in the middle as well. Our midfield have got to do what the Kangaroos did to us. They've got to puff up their chest, go in hard at the contest, and make sure that Hawthorn are shirking the contests and not us like last week. We know that the Roos have given a blueprint for every team that's going to verse us on how to beat us, and that's exactly what Hawthorn are going to try and do. We've just got to do that better. So I've had this weird feeling about this game since a couple of days after the Kangaroos game, after I settled down a little bit. I have a feeling that we're going to win, but we're not just going to win by 1 or 2 goals. I reckon we're going to win by over 30 points. We're going to come out and absolutely dominate Hawthorn. My big call is that Quainer on his debut is going to have over 400 metres gained and over 20 possessions and 4 intercept possessions. So a little stat is that since the preliminary final game in 2011, we've only beaten Hawthorn once on 12 different occasions. And that's absolutely nuts. They're one of our biggest bogey sides, but I think everything's going to change come tomorrow night. I just want to touch on some things that happened throughout the week that I didn't post a video for. Taylor Adams is going to be returning hopefully against West Coast, but more importantly against the Giants. Really miss him, really need him. And Dane Beams is taking indefinite leave from the club in regards to his mental health and looking after himself. And I just want to touch on that quickly. Very sensitive subject, but I applaud Dane Beams. He spoke out. It's not easy for people to talk about depression, especially that they have depression or mental health issues. So for him, a big high-profile player, to come out and say this and take the leave that he needs, I hope he comes back fitter, stronger, and his mind is free of all that stuff. I wish him all the luck in the world and his family all the best. That's it from me, a short, sharp and sweet preview of tomorrow night's game against Hawthorn. So until next time, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, like, comment, subscribe. I'm 8 subscribers away from 100. Let's get to 100. And I'll swoop you later. Levi Greenwood? What the?